Yeah, I like asking questions. I think you know that already. So I'm gonna ask you some crazy questions, no? I'd like two people to answer, even Neil. So I like the questions would you rather, and I think I started doing that sa class yesterday. So would you rather be this or this? Okay, wala lang, pang icebreaker lang. Sige. Would you rather? Sige, without asking the question, kinsay mag-race tubag daan? Geraldine, gusto ka mo tubag? O sige, Geraldine. Sige, si Geraldine akong una pa-answer. So the question is, would you rather be a human mutant with wings or a human mutant with gills? I repeat the question. Would you rather be a human mutant with wings or a human mutant with gills? Sige, 5 seconds.
So good morning, everyone. So for me, I would choose to be a human mutant with wings. Kay ang with wings kay maka-travel siya above the sea or above the water, but the gills dili sila maka-travel above the air or the terrestrial part. So dako og chance si wings. So thank you.
All right. Thank you. O, di ba? That's very interesting. Okay, gusto gid niya maglupad. Any one more person who okay, go AJ.
Good morning, ma'am. Good morning, everyone. I would rather be a person or a mutant having gills because, yeah, I can swim and there's a lot of food underwater and there's no food above the air. So I cannot eat above the air. Yes, I can fly, but I cannot eat. So I rather swim so I can stop by and eat something when I'm underwater. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so thank you. There's no wrong answer. There's also no wrong choice. One wants to explore, one wants to eat. Mura gutom yung kay AJ, no? Anyway, sige, salamat. Now, one more question, and I'd like two more people to also answer. Sige, si Queen, kaya nag-switch on man siya sa iyang cam. Cancer on yun siya. Katubago din ako si Desiree. Okay. Okay, question number two. If you are a biological process, medyo serious na niya, scientific na ni. If you, if you are a biological process, would you rather be mitosis or meiosis?
Good morning, ma'am.
Morning.
If I would be a biological process, I would be um, the ito yung cell division, ma'am. Naglibog ko sa duha, but I would rather be meiosis. Meiosis.
Mm-hmm.
Cell division.
Ano,
Nag-kuhan gari, nag-separate because in separation, ma'am, kanang we can learn new things. We can kuan kanang we can we can learn new things and we can pag naduha ta it means kanang there's two of us dayon kanang the other self would explore new things and the other self kay pwede ra siya mag kuan pod bali mas daghan mas the more the merrier ano.
okay, whatever. Sige na, medyo nakalitan si Desiree sa pagutan. Abis siguro niya, would you rather be Superman or Supergirl? But anyway, sige na. Ah, pero tama ka no, both processes are cell division processes. And yeah, but maybe you're going to think over about your answer later on. But thank you for answering. One option, one chance for anyone to answer the second question. Would you rather be mitosis or meiosis? Anyone who would like to answer there? Oh, Neil, ikaw. Saan naman, ikaw na kung tawagon. You are the fallback.
All right. Hello. Good morning, everyone. With the question of Ma'am Joy, so in my case, I'd also rather go with cell process of meiosis because with meiosis, we do have the option to. There's a part there where you're gonna like crossing over. That's the best part that I like about meiosis when we try to like just like crossing over. So more like we're trying to make some recombination. So that's the best thing that I would like with the meiosis part rather than the complete identical, which is the mitosis.
All right. Thank you. Yeah. So you're very good students. You always choose one. Because kung ako, I would always answer both. I would, for the first question, I would always answer, can I have both? Can I have wings and gills so that I can explore the air and I could also explore underwater? That would make it really very interesting. As for mitosis and meiosis, we both need mitosis and meiosis as human beings, as living organisms. Kung sino kang reproduce, sorry, kung sino kang meiosis na, we need mitosis, no? For most of our life cycle, it's mitosis that is operating. We only start doing meiosis when we reach the reproductive stage. Tama? But tama mo tanan sa inyong mga tubag. Ako, lahi lang yun. I just want to have both. Why can't we have the both of the best of both choices? Anyway, sige. Thank you for your participation. Kana, at least na may participation, di ba? Ang saka kong question sunod. Okay. All right. Sige, salamat. Today, I posted something on the GC last time, and we're supposed to do, ang sagali itong buhaton karon. Okay, sandali lang ha. Sige, update muna. I posted some materials sa Google Classroom for some examples of TED Talks. Pero there are thousands of TED Talks. Pero at least na may idea, about how you do the Aggie Talks because it's one of the activities. The Aggie Talks would be the equivalent of your midterms. Okay, so di man kung mag-exam o written exam sa midterms, it would be the Aggie Talks that would be the equivalent of your midterm exam. So at least na may prior idea how to do the Aggie Talks. Okay, and then I also shared with you a tentative schedule for our colloquium, and we are going to talk about that after this one. I also sorry, daghang kay gibutang. Napud ko gibutang nga duha ka videos, very short videos related to research. No, one is by a student, a graduate student, Emily Johnston from the University of South Australia. No, it was a thesis winning presentation. So it would be nice to see things like that. It's a 3 minutes, so under 3 minutes, she presented her thesis in a nutshell, and she won that particular presentation. And then another one by Pedrick Flood. So Pedrick Flood is somebody who is known in the circle, science European circle. He's really wonderful. He's very intelligent. And it would be nice to see how he, also presents in 3 minutes his talk on genetic diversity to grow new crops. And please raise your hand. You can click the button. You can, if you're showing your cam, you can raise your hand, or if you want to use the buttons Google Meet, you can raise your hand. Kinsa sa inyo na ang nagtanaw sa duha ka videos? Can you please let me know? Okay. Neil, AJ, kinsa pa? Kevin. Okay, very good. Jerlyn. Okay. So, pila? Mga, okay, Angelica. Oh, very good. Ang galing na mga Susan. Oh. Sige, maayo. Pero short naman siya, no? So, what I'm thinking is that, okay, kaya na ba sa inyong data? I'm just gonna play them briefly, and then we can start with the activity because ang butang ako din nga tentative schedule nato, no, is for August 18 today, we're going to do the critiquing and sharing on the sample videos. And I asked here kung naay gusto mag-volunteer to facilitate the critiquing because kabalo naman mo mag-facilitate. So you learn in your seminar A about moderating or facilitating or hosting a particular event na ay gusto mag-volunteer? Jerlyn, gusto ka mag-volunteer? Okay. Or sige, I could facilitate now and then for the next activities, it would be nice na ay mag-volunteer. Or I can facilitate the first video. So okay na sa inyo nga i-play na ako ang duha ka videos. Anyway, very short man sila. Okay lang para ma-refresh.
Yes,
Okay
ma'am.
lang, ma'am.
Oh, sige,
Yes, ma'am.
sige. Okay. So, sorry. Nag-raise na ng hand. Sorry.
Is Emily Johnston from the School of Pharmacy and Medical Sciences. Her presentation title is Mosquito Research, Saving Lives with Pantyhose and Paperclips. I came to Australia to study the deadliest animal in the world. Now, there may be some Australian audience members thinking, Struth, science has finally recognized the importance of the drop bears. But I'm not studying drop bears, because around the world, by transmitting diseases like malaria and dengue fever, mosquitoes kill more than 1 million people every year, making them the deadliest animal on the planet. Now, in Australia, the most common mosquito-borne disease is Ross River virus, and it occurs at high rates in some areas, but not others. My question is why? What is it about certain areas that makes them breed disease? If we can understand the environmental factors that contribute to disease transmission, then we can alter the environment or target our control efforts to prevent human infections. But to answer that question, I had to find out where the infected mosquitoes were in South Australia. And traditionally, testing mosquitoes for virus has always been difficult. So I used a new technique. It takes these cards, which are embedded with virus-preserving chemicals, and coats them in honey. Mosquitoes will come to feed on the honey, and in the process, spit virus onto the card where it can later be detected. Now, no one had ever used this technique in a broad-scale virus survey before, so I had to adapt it. I developed new traps and set them at over 100 field sites across South Australia. And I captured over 20,000 hungry mosquitoes and let them feed on the card for a week before testing the cards for virus. Now, you may not think that these traps look very impressive, but science doesn't have to be beautiful. It has to be effective, and these traps are proving to be our most sensitive method of detecting infected mosquitoes. I found 3 types of infection: Ross River virus, Farmer Forest virus, and Stratford virus, which has never before been found in South Australia. I now have the virus data I need to conduct my analysis, and I'm collecting publicly available data about the environment surrounding my traps, like the density of human housing, the biodiversity of mammals, and the ratio of green space to buildings, to see if any of those environmental factors can link these virus hotspots that I've shown here. But the most exciting part of my research so far has been the success of this method. Public health officials in Victoria, Queensland, and Western Australia have been in contact with us about implementing this technique for their surveillance next year. And I developed these traps on a tight budget. I used recycled milk cartons, pantyhose, and paper clips to make the traps. Each trap costs less than $1 and can be reused for the whole season. That was important to me because the majority of mosquito-borne disease risk happens in economically impoverished countries. In India, for example, where about a quarter of the population lives on $1 a day, there are 33 million cases of dengue infection every year. With my low-budget virus surveillance and spatial analysis method, I can help any country, regardless of resources, find out where their deadliest animals occur, why they're there, and how we can stop them from infecting humans. Thanks.
Okay, I'll stop that, and I think we're going to the next. Okay.
Imagine you were inside a leaf. It's a sunny day, and the cells around you are glowing with the soft green light. You move into one of these cells, and you see that this green glow is coming from melon-shaped objects called chloroplasts. As you look closer, you see tiny antennae harvesting this light and channeling it down to a reaction center. It is at this point that light becomes life. This process is known as photosynthesis, literally building with light. It is the fundament of all life on Earth. The energy I am using to talk to you right now, the air we are breathing, and even the fossil fuels that power our economy, all come from photosynthesis. I'm telling you this because our population looks set to reach 9 to 10 billion by 2050. This is a massive increase in the number of people that need to be fed, and it is way beyond our current capacity to produce food. But believe it or not, we have faced such a challenge before. In the 1950s, the world's population reached 2.5 billion. And for many experts, further sustainable growth seemed an impossibility. They predicted massive famines and the collapse of our civilization and referred to it as the population bomb. But thankfully, some scientists did not give up. They had a vision, and collectively they brought about an agricultural transformation like nothing we have ever seen before. They quadrupled yields in a matter of years in what became known as the Green Revolution. The man who spearheaded this was Nobel Prize winner Norman Borlaug, who is credited with saving more lives than any other individual in the history of our species. His work was so incredibly successful that in the developed world we went from potential food shortage to food mountains. But this is no longer the case. The population time bomb has not stopped ticking, and that is where photosynthesis comes in. The scientists of the Green Revolution did an amazing job at increasing crop productivity, but they never managed to improve photosynthesis. In fact, some scientists still say that it can't be done. But already, from my own research, I say otherwise. There is a resource out there, a resource which is the fuel of evolution and which we can tap into. This resource is genetic variation. In the case of photosynthesis, this variation manifests as differences in the efficiency in which plants convert light to life. The genetic basis of these differences can be used to create plants which will feed and fuel our future. We must increase the productivity of our crops so that we can buy the world time to reach a point of population stability. In the words of Norman Borlaug, you can't build a peaceful world on empty stomachs and human misery. We need a second green revolution, and photosynthesis is one key which cannot be left unturned.
You mentioned that photosynthesis is a process where genetic modification could help enhance, improve efficiency.
It's not just genetic modification. So I'm talking about natural genetic variation. So in all species, including humans, there is variation. That's why we look different. And you can use this variation to alter traits. You can breed for it. So it's not just GMOs. It's also natural breeding. GMOs is also an avenue, but we should use everything we've got. And I'm looking at natural variation, which is present in species, trying to find what it is, the genetic basis for these differences we see, and then to use this, hopefully, to increase photosynthetic outputs.
Isn't photosynthesis already a very efficient biological process? How can we improve any further on nature?
Yeah, well, I like that question. So lots of people, lots of scientists actually say you can't do this because there's been, 2-3 billion years of evolution optimizing this process. We surely can't improve that. But that's not true. Okay? Agricultural systems are very different from natural systems. Things compete. So their main goal is to produce offspring. But in agriculture, our main goal is that they produce food. So we can actually make plants more cooperative. Also, they're living in very stressful conditions. So it's kind of like a Ferrari. Ferrari is going to run very well, but it's not going to do well off-road. So sometimes you need to compromise on speed so that you can do well in more rough environments, like a Jeep, for example. It's the same with photosynthesis. Plants that live in the wild, for example, they need to be able to deal with multiple environments. But if we control the environment, like in an agricultural context, we can make them go much faster without the negative side effects they would have in nature.
I got one very quick question. I need a quick question.
Come on.
Have to leave it there. Half Jeep, half Ferrari, pouring mud.
All right. Yeah, those are the videos that we're going to critique today. And I have watched them I don't know how many times because I discovered those two videos many years ago. And can you hear me just well? Because I have to remove the earpod or sorry, the earphones from my laptop. Can you hear me? Okay. Sige, so I've always loved watching those two videos. So those were 2014 videos, actually. Both videos were 2014 videos. So that's like, gosh, 7 years ago, almost 7 years ago. And these are, very inspiring presentations from the two students. Sige. So let's have a critiquing and sharing on the sample videos. You have an option to write your comment or critique on the chat box, or you can do an oral sharing. So, wala problema. You can try to speak in English or speak in the vernacular. Our goal is for us to learn a lot of key points from the two presentations. No? So we are critiquing them, not because we would like, critiquing means we like to analyze each talk, we would like to dissect each talk so that you can harvest a lot of good points from the two videos and you can hopefully utilize them in your you can utilize them in this class and in your other classes and to be hopefully part of your skills improvement. Okay? Sige. So share any comment, anything that you noticed. Remember that those are winning presenters. So ngano ka nga sino man ang especially Emily, no? She was the third finalist in that presentation. She won the presentation. So Pedrick, who's an Irish, or dahil lang pag-pronounce sa iyang name, Pedrick Flood. Before atong nga competition, nag-go through pa sila og national competitions nila. And Podrick Flood was the top winner in 3 countries, no? So Belgium, Netherlands, and Luxembourg. And then he represented those 2 countries on that particular international competition. Sige, so you can comment on any possible way. There should be no wrong comment or critique. Okay, and I'd really like to that everybody gets involved, no? Because if I'm gonna kung ako mong ikuan ha, one of the things that really excited me when I first read through your comments, katong questions bitaw nga akong gibutang sa GC, you had very, very good answers to the questions. So akong ibasahon ang isa ka tubag, no? Because I was very happy, really very happy reading her answer. So kinsa to nga kuan? Kinsa to nga tubag? Tubag ni Mariel. Basahan ko ang iyong tubag ni Mariel ha. What is a colloquium class? Siya, what I think about this class is where the students and mentors are actively engaged in discussions on similar topics, conversing about the chosen matters while exchanging thoughts, opinions, assumptions, and exerting intellectual freedom. Yeah. So that is one very good answer from Mariel. So what we're going to do is, naaba si Mariel. Okay, Mariel, sugdan natin sa inyo. Na-hostage si Mariel. Okay. All right. Please unmute. Morning.
Good morning, ma'am. About raman sa unsa ako'y kasulti about sa ilahan the way they ma'am no. I was amazed kang ma'am kang Emily Johnson ba to siya? Kasi in 3 minutes it took years sa ilahan na to sa ilang research na mahuman to nila tapos they only simplified it in 3 minutes, ilang summarize and simplified in 3 minutes, and tapos they're using the mga words nga kanang biskin dili ka inline anak nga field silahang sa science pero makasabot gihapon ka tungod sa ilang paggamit silang mga words and also sa pag-pronounce nila. And then, ang kang Emily, pero, ko yung kanang tungo siguro siya yung medyo di kay ko ako so kailangan ako siya gibalik-balik na ko siya og kuan and amazing kay kanang iyang with $4 really I think nga para mas masabot gid nato kung unsa gid iyang punto sa iyang research
Yeah.
and talk about silang duha.
Okay, thank you, Marielle. I think the term is analogy. So for Pedrick Flood, he made an analogy with Ferrari and a Jeep, no, to illustrate unsaon nga pwede pa ma-improve ang photosynthesis. So very good points that you raised, no? Very important, no, when you share, when you present the paper, anything, whether a thesis proposal, your thesis manuscript, or anything, dapat simple language, clear, para understandable siya. So, tama imong gi-point out. Because the most important thing is if you're going to stand in front or imo nang gihaguan ha bisag 3 minutes. So, actually, both of their talks were just under 3 minutes. Mao na siya ang rule. Can you convey about your research efficiently and effectively in 3 minutes? So, both of them actually presented in 3 minutes. And of course, nag-practice man na sila, nagtuon, nagsulat before nila memorize ang ilang speech, no? But gisud man ka mo convey kung wala gyud ka kasabot sa unsa imong gusto i-convey. So very good points na imong gi-raise. Sige. And I think it's about accent, no? Kay they are native speakers, there's English speakers. So the differs accent. Kita pod kung mustorya pod ka, kung dito pod ka sa let's say si Mariel, ipaadtog US, na ipastorya ka, na Filipino ka itong English, na di po sila kasabot sa atong, you need to slang a little bit para makasabot sila sa imong English. So, accent, no? Because we differ in accent. But that's the challenge actually for us. One of the things to level up among CMU students is to train your ears, to learn, even if people would speak in a different accent. They speak English, but they speak a different accent. Okay? But good points that you raised. Thank you. Who's next? Reynaldo? Wala ka na ako na dunggan gahapon, Reynaldo. Sorry. Ray, would you like to
Hi,
share?
ma'am. Good morning.
Morning.
Yes, ma'am. So, ay, sa mama. Nawala ako. Good morning, ma'am.
Morning.
So, sa kay Emily Kwan, ma'am, she used a bit of humor at the start, ma'am, to break the ice. So, makong nabantayan, ma'am. Then, she doesn't have stage fear, ma'am. And I think gabi ang preparation, gabi ang balik-balik sa iyang speech. Then she delivered straight to the point, logical and informative presentation, ma'am. Then she gave confident presentation with only one slide. Kay murag one slide naman to yung gipakita sa dito. So and was able to cover all of her topics. So kay Flood, ma'am, para kay Mariel, wala pud kay ko ka gets pud sa uban kay tungod pud siyang kuan. So ako na nakuha dito nga point, ma'am, is katong ingon niya nga massive famines and the collapse of civilization is referred to as kuan sa to population bomb. So we must increase the productivity of our crops for the food stability of the rising population. So sa ila duha, ma'am, is kaning excellent preparation is equivalent to excellent presentation. So mao to, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you, Ray. Very, very good additional comments, no? I understand your difficulty, no, because people are not used to talking to Irish people. We are not used to talking to Irish people. We're more familiar with Americans, no? Pero between the two presentations, actually ang presentation ni Pedrick Flood ang pinaka-relevant sa inyong plant breeding majors. So I would suggest you revisit and watch again, because Pedrick Flood has presented. He's talking about genetic diversity. He's talking about breeding. So buti pa sabot between the two talks, ang pinaka-relevant para sa inyong majors is actually the talk of Pedrick Flood. But I included the talk of Emily Johnston because he's from the medical field, pero like ko din yung style. And still, no, it's about, there are key elements in her presentation that I will point out later on, but I'll let everybody, as much as possible, talk first. So I challenge both of you, Mariel and Reynaldo, and all the others who would just tell me, Ma'am, okay na ko ang sabdan si Pedrick Flood. Well, you better watch that video maybe 10 more times. Okay? Sige. Thank you,
Okay, ma'am.
Ray.
Thank you, ma'am.
Salamat. Let's have Angelica Kalapuan. Kay basig mawala na po na iyang internet access. Sige, Angelica?
Ma'am, pwede din ako mag-video, ma'am.
Yes? Sure. Oo.
Okay, ma'am. Good morning, everyone. So I would like to share my understanding about the presented video nga imong gikuan sa mga ma'am. So first is kang Emily, and kay Emily, I was impressed sa iyang study because of sa kuan pa lang daan sa title, which is very cheap lang nga materials yung gigamit, but grabe ang initiative, grabe ang iyang resourcefulness, or she's very resourceful because in that cheap material, grabe ang contribution niya to save lives, to the contribution that iyang mahatag in the future research. Then sa photosynthesis, yung genetic diversity, both of them, ma'am, presented very well. Grabe siya kanang direct to the point, yes. Then in that specific period of time, in that very short of time, you discuss nila everything about the research that people or the audience would really understand about the research or about the things that they were saying, that about the points that they are going to share to the audience or to the people. So kuan siya, ma'am, for me, it's a quite challenging for me to do that thing, to make the complex thing into simple ones. So, mao na ang challenge na ako karon nga. Gusto na ko, in this class, mao na ang gusto na ko ma-improve sa akong self, ma'am. To simplify things. That's all, ma'am.
Thank you, Angelica. Tama to imong gipang point out bahin sa mga presentation, especially Emily, no, initiative. So, mo na ginaingon na they think outside of the box. Emily thought outside of the box. For most women, ang pantyhose after using, although dili na kita user sa pantyhose, I really don't like using pantyhose. Pero my mom is still a user sa pantyhose. So those are discarded after maybe twice na imong gamiton or 3 times imong gamiton, i-discard na nila. But those are, very important things. And then, I don't have to elaborate. But initiative and resourcefulness, and ganun sa ila naman ng field, why can't it just be Emily Johnston? Why can't it be each one of you? Okay? So it's very important to really understand the problem. And I'll add on to your comment later on, they were very efficient. Definitely, I picked out the winning presentations. No, I did not pick up videos of amateur presenters. Para taas ang atong model, atong standards nga, ay, ang galing-galing nila. So we aim, we practice. So we practice to get better and get better and get better. That's the challenge, no? That's the challenge. So it's good to really see nga, that science can be very interesting, that science can be highly understandable in 3 minutes. And ang isa ka difference between the presentation ni Flood of ni Johnston is that actually walay time for Q&A for Emily Johnston, but you saw how Pedrick Flood actually is how he answers questions. No, he was asked twice, and based on your judgment, did he answer correctly? Did he answer well? Was he? I think the judges were very satisfied. Were very impressed with him. So and again, that's why these are 2 important resources that you should download in your in your phone and watch the videos again and again to learn more. Thank you, Angelica. Next. Okay, AJ.
Good morning once again, everyone and ma'am. I would like to point out Emily's personality, since my classmates point out the other stuff like the content and how they deliver. But I just want to point out Emily's personality. He is a pro-poor and pro-health researcher. So that at first glance, I really see that kind of personality to her. And the second one to the presentation of uh, Dr. Flood, I have written three key points about genetic variation, and uh, I have written genetic variation as a resource. Yeah, he emphasized that genetic variation relative to photosynthetic efficiency is a resource, not just for photosynthetic efficiency, but also for other traits. So it's true to all. And second, genetic variation is a power. We see other countries attributing their power to their nuclear possession or their influence. But yeah, I can say that Philippines is very powerful when in terms of genetic variation, since we are one of the top five hotspots for biodiversity. And lastly, I have written here genetic variation as the precursor of creativity, because yeah, we can imagine, we can be creative, but without these variations at hand or at our grasp, we cannot implement, or we cannot uh, realize it. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you for your comments, AJ. And that's the reason why. That's why you had a subject on PGR. Okay, that's basically what we discussed yesterday. The importance of genetic diversity. And here is Pedrick Flood who looks at things from a different perspective. Siguro ang uban sa inyo will be trying to measure leaf size, leaf width, leaf length, leaf color. But he's looking at the leaves based on the basic function of the leaves, its capacity to photosynthesize. And he knows that there would be also differences in the efficiency of the photosynthetic system among different plants. And well, I think the chair of the judges asked, uh, don't you think that photosynthesis is already a very efficient biological system? Kung ako si Predict Fraud, maybe he was not very aware. He was a student then. Karon doctor na siya. Umano siya sa PhD. But during that time, he was still doing his PhD, no? In 2014. I would have answered the judge, actually, yes, but there's one major enzyme in photosynthesis that is not very efficient, and that is rubisco. So rubisco is the very prolific enzyme. It's a complex of enzymes in the whole world because it's the most abundant enzyme in the plant world, but it's not very efficient. If you're going to, one of the ways by which you can improve photosynthesis is perhaps by improving the efficiency of the rubisco enzyme. That would be my answer. I know that because, well, we studied. I had three subjects on crop physiology way back in my graduate years. But yeah, thank you for pointing that out. Thank you. So, anybody? Geraldine, would you like to comment?
Yes, ma'am. So, pwede, i-off lang ako, ma'am, kay hinay akong signal. So, sa ako apod kay, sa to ka presenter is, ako nakita is ilang confident. Bisan si katong ikaduha nga presenter, dili kay nako masabtan, kay tungod siyang accent, but tungod sa iyang pagka-confident nga musturya, unsa di iyang dos, nga nung, orag interesado kay ko makabalo, kung unsa di iyang ginabot ko, so tungod siyang confident nga, na siya knowledge bitaw in part, sure ko nga, na siya knowledge in part, ay ihat i-share, pero wala pa na ko, so gusto ko makabalo, tungod siyang confident, tapos, sa pagsugod pa lang kay ilan na bitaw gipakita nga makatangtang ay maka ice break sila kay lahi sila story nga madala nila ang audience para maminaw sa ilahang kuan wala be true to life bitaw nila para madala ang audience kung unsa ilang thought unsa ilang message na gusto i-share sa mga audience tanan. So diha confident pa lang daan kay kung dili sila confident ato siguro wala ko gusto nga mautro og paminaw or mutanaw ato nga video kay wa gani guys. So ana ako so ang confident dako siya og ay part para himo nga effective ang isa ka speaker para sa ako. So challenge kay na sa ako kay di ko confident pod mo storya. So murag sige wala to siya ma'am.
Okay, thank you, Geraldine. Yeah, so makita ninyo, no, in different angles ang inyong critiquing. So, the importance of confidence kay isod kay maminaw siguro no kung maupay pagpatong sa stage mo nagakurog-kurog na. Kung gakurog-kurog na brag unsa ba ni. So you can see the confidence and I would suggest na think in a more positive way kamo tanan, not just Geraldine. Ayo don't claim na wala dili kay ko confident man. So I suggest min ka nga I'm going to learn to be more confident, ma'am. I'm going to learn to be more confident. That would be a better way of thinking. And but I like what you said, napansinin mo. Actually, what they did was do storytelling. So, to address pathogens, human pathogens, pathogens against humans, katong kay Johnston, which is viruses wherein mosquito would be the carrier. And then photosynthesis, well, they did not speak in a technical manner. They did the storytelling approach. Maong nga kanang mo nang ginaingon balik ta sa gi-comment ni Mariel ganina nga maong simple, clear, and understandable because what they utilized as a vehicle for sharing about the research is the storytelling, no? Pero ayaw kung bagsugod. Once upon a time, I did a research on this and that. Wag na lang once upon a time. But you can learn, the way they presented. So Johnston sabi nga ni Ray kaganina, ma'am, she had a very good sense of humor. Si Pedrick is more serious. Pero both of them were doing storytelling about their research. Imagine pila nila ka years na research and they spoke about it, they shared about it in just 3 minutes. Okay, thank you, Anna Geraldine. Okay, Jessica, gusto ka mag-comment? Kuy, gamay na ang time, lagot. And then after Jessica, Kevin.
Good morning, ma'am. Good morning, classmates. So, di na ako mag-video, ma'am. Kanang. So, based ka koan ka Emily Johnson kay kanang na-amaze ko siyang iyahang gingon nga this trap might not look very impressive but science doesn't have to be beautiful, it has to be effective. Kaya unsa may pulos kung tsada siya kung di man siya effective good sakto-sakto kay siya. So as I observe sila ma'am kay kuan kanang straightforward dayon. So sa ang kuan kanang katong gingon nimo nga storytelling sila. So then dali ra kay masabtan kay Johnson. So kay Vlad naman kay kanang makaingon jud makanahuna jud ka nga kuan bitaw kay pagsugod pa lang sa iyang anang speech kay nayon siya imagine you're inside the leaves. So mag-create jud siya sa audience nga interested ka dayon na imply jud niya kung unsa iya habitang gusto nga abot. So the speech opening clearly established the intent of the presentation. So ang speaker kay ang transition niya kay smoothly ra kay ma'am. Maura ma'am, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Jessica. Actually, I actually watched also the video of Pedrick Flood, katong iyang pang-enter sa competition prior, more 2013. Actually, that is always his favorite word, imagine. Because he's talking about a process no nga, we cannot really see. We can see the leaf, we know that it's photosynthesizing, but nobody had seen how, the process of photosynthesis really go. Dark reaction, light reaction. So, ingana siya. Tama imong puan. Imagine. And that's the challenge for us. Imagine how you would create better varieties. What better varieties can you create? Imagine. So, just a quick note for the University of Tsukuba, no? So, one of the best universities in Japan is the Tsukuba University. It's the second biggest university in Japan. And mao na ilang tagline. Ilang tagline is just one word. Imagine. Mora. So, and that is linked to creativity because when you imagine, you can switch on your creativity because imagination is free and imagination can be limitless. Okay? And it's up to you where you would stop with the scope of your imagination. And the same could be challenge for all of you. So thank you, Jessica. Very good. No, sabi mo straightforward, which was also pointed out by by Angelica Ganina. Very direct to the point. They cannot afford to be padaloy-daloy or paligoy-ligoy because they only have 3 minutes. So I'm sure, tama itong ingon ni Ray Ganina. Grabe gid makita gyud ang reward, ang benefit sa ilang preparation. So preparation was very important. Practice was very important. Okay? Thank you, Ana Angelica. Yes, Kevin. Naku, Kevin.
So, so good morning, everyone. So, what I have observed from the two presentations is that to be an effective communicator, you need to catch the attention of your audience from the very first time you step on the stage. So that is what they did. Now, for Emily, he started with a sentence with, I came to Australia to study the deadliest animal on earth. So the audience would probably think, so what is the deadliest animal? So from the very first time, the audience makahunaw na sila nga, oh, this topic is very interesting. So interesting gid sa tinuod. So for Emily, murag iyahang gi-present niya ang problem in a very comprehensive way. Then she also not she did not also just presented the strengths of his research but also presented the weaknesses. So prayatong ingon ni Jessica nga, this technology may not be beautiful but science will not always be beautiful, would not always be beautiful, but as long as it is effective. So naay strengths, naay weaknesses nga iyang gi-present, and ang iyahang flow sa presentation from the problem statement to the solution is very straightforward, masabtan nimo siya dali. Then for atong the gentleman, his talk is very eye-opening, no? Kay you need to think out of the box. No, who would think that photosynthesis is not as efficient, not as an effective anang process because it has been part of the plant processes for how many years, but nakahunaw na gid siya nga, no, we need to, there is still an area of improvement for photosynthesis to be efficient and to to solve the problem of the world. So those are the things I observed from the two presentations, ma'am. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Kevin. A very good perspective, no? So you've hit the nail on the head, actually. Um, Good scientists can always find ways to improve things. No, good science thinking people, especially if they really spend time thinking and they really are humanists. So katong naingon ni AJ nga, Emily Johnston had Johnston with a T, not just Johnston. Um, Good scientists actually are humanists. No, they care about people. They care about people. That's why they're very dedicated to finding ways and finding solutions to many of the problems. No, but very good points na imong gi-raise, Kevin. I wish I have. I wish I murag mga ito ko sa inyong extension na 5 minutes ani unya. Koan kanang, of course this is I wanted you to realize na this was 2014 nga paper nga talks nila. But way back in 2005, 2006. Early in 2006 was my last crop physiology subject. One of my professors was Dr. Steve Long, who was from Britain, English siya, Dr. Steve Long. So Dr. Steve Long's laboratory is actually on re-engineering photosynthesis. No? So as early 2000, 2006, so good na ang mga efforts sa scientists regarding looking at ways to improve photosynthesis. What are the different mechanisms, angles, etc. of photosynthesis na pwede ma-improve? And Erie, no, is also having, I don't know kung sa update ka dun sa Erie nga, the huge project. I think it's funded by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation way back 6 years ago. One of the biggest projects na funded sa Erie was to re-engineer the photosynthetic machinery of rice because rice is a C3 plant. So, katong gi-point out ni Pedrick Flood, no, I think kabalo na mo actually, you know the basics sa crop science. So there are at least 3 different categories of plants. Na ay C3 plants, na ay C4 plants, na ay CAM, crassulation, acid, metabolism. So, kana pa lang, those are the 3 major categories of plants based on their photosynthetic potential. But I would assume na apay mga in-betweens, ana, na yung mga, combination and they're exploring that. So, with the changing environment, asa ang most efficient, that's wrong. Kung ang pinaka-efficient na photosynthetic system when it comes to changing environment. So, the general consensus is that the C4 plants would be the most efficient under the changing environment. Under karon sa atong problem na climate change because the C4 plant is able to store extra carbon, no, in its parenchyma cells, and then even because high temperature, intense sunlight would usually lead to faster evapotranspiration, and that means nga the plants need to close the stomates early para dili mag-lose og daghang tubig. But closing the stomates would also prevent the entry of carbon dioxide. So for the C3 plants, once the stomates in the leaves close, then photosynthesis, bisan pag abunda ang init, practically stops. Dili na. Nag-stop na ang photosynthetic system. But for C4 plants, because they store some extra carbon in their cells, so bisan mag-close na ang stomates to prevent water loss, extreme water loss from the plants, para di mag-wilt, dili mag-suffer ang uban ng mga biological systems, they can still continue to produce a little bit of photosynthase even when the stomates are closed. Now, the causation, the CAM plants would not do, well, they do photosynthesis, but they don't open their stomates during the day. They open their stomates during the night, absorb as much carbon as they could, and then, so they have different. So, mo na ginaingon ni Pedrick Flood na there's actually natural variation when it comes to the photosynthetic potential of different crops, different plant species. And it's up to us to study further and to go deeper in order for us to optimize the photosynthetic system. So for your information, ERI is trying to re-engineer the photosynthetic system of rice. So hoping that they could make rice become a C4 plant. Pila na sila katuig nag-effort, because it takes a lot of work and research. Isa ka dekada, duha ka dekada, it will take time. And the laboratory of Dr. Steve Long, that was, my God, they started their research early 2000. And one of my classmates, si Amy, one very brilliant undergrad student, was into studying the characteristics of the chloroplast because they're thinking, how can we make the chloroplast more efficient? So the photosynthesis is a very huge system, but you can break it down. So Dr. Steve Long has many students in his lab. So each student focuses on one particular aspect of photosynthesis. And Amy, my classmate's research was on studying the chloroplast. What particular aspect of the chloroplast she could, work on na pwede pa ma-improve. So, that is why mo ginakong challenge sa inyo na challenge yourself to think on a different level. Okay? Do not just think the traditional thoughts. Okay? Sige. But goodness, it's 11:01. Can we extend for about 4 minutes to give time to kinsa pa, si John and si Queen Desiree? Napabay wala nakakuan? Okay, so muragduhan na lang. Sige, ladies first, Desiree, go now. Para
Morning, ma'am. I just want to kuan kanang. I realize na my classmates are really brilliant so kuan. And then in regarding to the video of Miss Emily Johnston, her level of confidence and her body language is really great, and which is I am lacking, and I am motivated, ma'am, to be like her. And for her topic is really straight to the point, simple, and really logical. I think that's it, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, Desiree. Well, you did actually pretty good in your thesis presentation, but every one of us can really improve, no? Wala problema. Improvement. I hope karon kana bitang ma-realize ninyo nga kita we're trying to specialize on the concept of improving crops, but in the same manner that we should also try to improve ourselves. Mao nga dili ang mo ma-offend, no? Or dili kay mo dapat too sensitive when I would challenge you. Because, goodness gracious. One of the important things I really want is just for you to get better and better. And that's for your benefit, not for my benefit. Okay? Okay, Jerlyn. Nagpakita ni Jerlyn kay basig malimtan daw siya. Okay. Go, Jerlyn. Because the last would be John Lahera.
Akong kuan ma'am, first nga ano kay kang Emily. Tsudan ko sa iya ay sila both ni Flood kay tsudan ko sa ila kay kanabit ang i-sure nilang ma-involve bitaw at the same at the same page ang audience like kanang makuan sila ba nga kanang nagid sa ko ang attention. Then ang akong kuanan gyud og comment kay si Flood kay sa pag-ask pala question sa iya kay ganhan bitaw siya na questions tas mas mo broad din iyang pag-share og mga informations pag na questions. Then ang first pa lang kang Flood kay kana bitong murag nakuan gyud ang tao ba kay na may uban nga not into science then mo ana ang uban nga yun sa may pakinakuan na like nga pero first niya nga sentence pa lang kay imagine. So murag ma-appeal ka dia sa box bitaw siyang imagine. Pero sa ko pa lang gid katong pagtan-aw nako sa video. Murag ako sang imagine nga nako sulod sa plans like tas nagkuan sa chloroplast. Mo to ma'am kanang kuan tsadan ko sa kay i-involve bitaw jud ang audience.
Thank you, Jerlyn. Thank you, Jerlyn. Very good point. Nakita na mo sa movie nga Ant-Man? Di ba? Marvel's movie nga Ant-Man?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So, grabe ang imagination anang writer sa Ant-Man and Ant-Man and the Wasp na mo sequel, no? Because actually, napag ito early, sorry, tigulang na giday kay ko kay napag yung movie nga Inner Space. My God, I was a kid when I saw that movie. Inner Space. So, di ba na outer space? That's, going to space. But ang Inner Space is about how to travel. Na ito sci-fi movie nga, they shrink, they shrink a travel vehicle to atom size, na para sa Ant-Man na concept, para maka-travel siya along the veins of the human person, para isolve ang medical problem. Pero katong sa Ant-Man, punto siya. But mo na ginaingon nga grabe nga mga imagination. And I think, after this one, all of you, I'm sure, ma-activate pa inyong imagination. Imagine if you're inside your corn. Imagine if you're inside the cell, the nucleus. Imagine if you're reading through and walking through the DNA and the molecules, the chromosomes. Imagine. So thank you, Jerlyn. Very good point. And I think one of the common consensus points, I think both talks are very inspiring for all of you. No? For even me, my God, I've watched it many times. Okay, John Lahera, please.
Yes, ma'am. Good morning, ma'am. Good morning, classmates. For Frederick Flood, ma'am, I just love how he opened his speech. Nga. It's very creative and detailed. Then it creates a visual image to the audience, ma'am, which provokes curiosity. Next is the variation of his speech, of his voice. It was very effective in giving weight to the point. Then it made his speech, ma'am, dynamic. Then dito siya flat. Tapos, next is ang constant gestures o iyang passionate nga eye contact, ma'am. It is one effective way of conveying your points to the audience. Then last, nakunabantan sa'yo, ma'am, is he defined photosynthesis, population bomb, o green revolution, which helped the audience grasp his points. Then for Emily Johnson, ma'am, one of prominent kahunabanten sa is the complementary visuals. So without the visuals, ang iyang methodology, ang research methodology would be harder to follow. So mas silihod siya masabtan. Pero with the presentation, mas makasunod ang audience. Tapos throwing the question, ma'am, nga what is katong certain about areas that makes them breed for disease. So, question po na pilang audience, ma'am, it again provokes curiosity, then mas ma-engage sa iyong research. So, mo ito akong nabantayin sila, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, John Michael, for pointing those things out. So one basic difference between the two presenters is that one, Emily, which was also actually mentioned by Kevin kaganina, no? Emily had one slide and she needed that slide because technically dili siguro ma-imagine sa audience kung saan yung gibuhat sa pantyhose o sa paper clips, di ba? Yun sa niya paggamit to siya. So that's why she needed one slide to aid for her presentation. And that helped her presentation become very effective. So isa na ka lesson sa inyong when you do presentation, do you need 50 slides? Do you need 30 slides? Or you can just use one or two or three slides and deliver what the message that you really want to convey. And don't talk in technical terms. Kung pwede storytelling, di ba? Storytelling. So tama. And then of course, everything is about curiosity. These two people would be the two best examples. Of course, there are many, many. Two best examples of very curious students. No? Very curious students, and their curiosity led them to come up with these wonderful ideas. No? So simple, pero mo nang ginaingon nga, meaningful, na intention. So, goodness, nang lapas na ta, okay lang ba? Neil, na kay gusto idugang or you'd rather be quiet?
Nalang ko idugang nga ka ng murag pangka na siya, ma'am. Gamay lang.
Okay.
So, good morning, everyone.
Pangasa
Thank
naman
you.
kay Neil.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. Actually, both videos or materials that Ma'am Joy provided, those are very good materials. Very, especially if we're going to like practice presenting with you provided only for a very short time. Especially sa Lahad, you were just given about 3 minutes to just present your ideas for how many years of hard work research. So that could be one thing avenue sa ato ang tanan, not just me, but kitang tanan. We are all learners here. So kana siya nga 3 minutes lang is murag mahatag nimo ang imong information, ma-relay nimo siyang clearly even though sa mga tao nga dili in line with that field sa imuha, also with other people nga those that are willing to listen. So that's a very good avenue ang katong duha ka video, the two materials nga gihatag is more like a practice on how we can be able to convey our message, our thoughts, and also the outcome of our research in just a short period of time. And also like how you were able to get our attention. Both videos has got like taken my attention because first pa lang ang sa ako agad is ang kanang unsa ang ihatag nga intro message sa speaker, because that's also one critical point nga kuha ang attention sa tao para effective ang other information nga lang ihatag along the way, especially sa ending part na dayon. So that's also one thing. Ang two videos, those are great information nga ihatag sa tuwa to start this subject, especially sa colloquium, for especially sa mga nakoy nakita nga na agi talks or activities nga ihatag ni ma'am along the way. So this is a good avenue, guys. So hopefully we can be able to learn much for those two videos. Thank you.
Thank you, Neil. Murag pang ending statement, no? Murag pang kuya na yun na, no? Sorry. Okay. Sige, salamat, Neil. And just one thing. So thank you sa inyong kuan. Well done. Very good observation. So you really did also prepare. You did prepare, no, for your time to join this class today. And isa lang ka kuan, isa lang ka final nga point nga akong i-emphasize. Nakadaog silang duha, kay nga no, in 3 minutes, they were able to present a problem, a major problem in society. They were able to present a hypothesis na ilang gusto i-address. They were able to propose unsang ilang gusto buhaton. They were able to present unsang methodology nilang buhaton and the possible implications of their research. So those two talks actually were very, very organized, but were told in a very simple storytelling way. But the context, the content, somebody mentioned about content kanina, the content of their talks actually presented an entire research process. Of course, they were not yet done, so wala pa sila conclusions, but they were presenting what could be the usefulness and the implications if ever mahuman ang ilang research, if ever they would become successful in really addressing the goals of their research. So I suggest during your free time, try to watch those 2 videos again. And now, from the inputs of everybody, mas ma-appreciate pa ninyo, and then try to dissect na karon ang context of how the talks were organized, because those are actually, kaya winning videos sila. Okay? So with that, thank you for your time. Sorry, nag-overshoot ta og pila ka minutes, and yeah. So next week, oh my God, I hope I have time. I'll be sharing about my PhD research. So, and then i-confirm pa na ako ang mga gipang invite na ako nga resource persons para po to give variety to our class. Okay? So, with that, anything else? So we can now end class, and thank you, and yeah. Thank you. Keep safe. Eat happy lunch, and yeah, keep safe. And I'll see you next week for another round of Colloquium.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, everybody. Please encourage your other classmates to join the class next time.